You're listening to Trek FM.
Hello and welcome to From There to Here, Trek FM's rewatch of 729 episodes of Star Trek from Broken Bow, Oklahoma to Yorktown Station and Star Trek Beyond. I am Davis Grayson, and joining me tonight is Mike. Mike, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I am wonderful. I'm ready to talk about the next few episodes of the end of Deep Space Nine.
Me too. Let's do this.
All right, so the first one we're going to talk about is Strange Bedfellows. And this is the one where Kai Wynn gets unknowingly involved with Gul Dukat, surgically altered to resemble a Bajoran using the name Anjol. Tensions further escalate between Weyoun and Legate Damar as the Dominion gather to sign a peace treaty with the Breen, which includes granting the Breen certain Cardassian territories. Having been held captive by the Dominion, Ezri and Worf try to escape from the Cardassian home world. So, Mike, what did you think of this episode?
I think this episode is pretty badass. There's a couple of things in here which I just love. The stuff with Kai Wynn and Dukat is like interesting and it's like so weird and everything like that. And I the one thing about it that I think is kind of bizarre. I mean, it's very Deep Space Nine in that it doesn't fit into any sort of box. There's no like typical Deep Space Nine episode. There's no typical whatever. But I think that it's such a strange choice for them to say like, okay, Gul Dukat is obviously the big baddie, and for the last like 6 episodes or whatever it is, he's going to look like a Bajoran, and whatever. It's just such a strange choice, but whatever. They you just got to go with it, and it's cool that they're willing to do that. But the part that I think is really cool about this, and it's all sort of intertwined. The first part is where Weyoun is sort of getting a little inappropriate with Ezri, and Worf is just like and snaps his neck. I'm like, yeah, Worf, And then Damar's reaction to it, where he's just like, "Wahaha, you're an idiot, Weyoun." And then like he comes back in and he's like, "You're so dumb," and Weyoun's like, "Yeah, whatever. All right, can we just do this?" So that was cool. But then also, sort of like the realization, like that, Damar is starting to have, and like we were talking about yesterday, where like they've been setting this up for a while now, where like Damar is an alcoholic and everything like that, and he's like basically checked out in his role as like the leader of the Cardassians, and this is the episode where he has that turn. I mean, this like it like sends chills up my spine just thinking about it, because I really see Damar's turn here as being similar in a lot of ways to like Darth Vader at the end of Return of the Jedi, spoilers, where he's like looking at the Emperor and he's like, depending on which version you watch, he's like no, or he just doesn't say anything, and throws the Emperor over the thing, and like that, like Damar is doing that in terms of like a conceptual level here. He throws away the drink and he's like, this is it. I know where I stand now and nothing's going to stop me. I am going to stand up for my people. And it's such a weird moment because you're sitting there watching it and you're like, yeah, you go, Damar. You stand up for, the race of aliens which was created to be the big bad guy on this show that we're watching, and we're happy for you, and go Cardassia. Even though you are basically Nazis. I mean, the fact that they're able to, get us to that point. I mean, it's such a crazy thing, and the show is so good at doing that, is like evolving things and saying like, no, we're not going to just play into the established roles that we've set throughout this series. We're going to use these characters and these alien races and everything to do whatever it is that we need to do to tell this story. And I think that that's really interesting. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of this episode.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought it was just a great episode. And it opens up, and Damar is just pissed at the fact that he's losing territories. Also, the fact that 500,000 Cardassians were killed at Septus 3 because they're like, he goes, I thought you said you were going to save them. He goes, no, I told you it would be dealt with. This is how they were dealt with. And he's like, you sacrifice, how many sacrifices do my people have to make? And Wei Yun's like, we're all the Dominion. We have to make these sacrifices. And like you said, it's that changing. He's starting to change, and he's starting to realize, you know what? This isn't what I signed up for. It's kind of like Lando Calrissian in Empire Strikes Back. He said, this bargain is not what I wanted and everything. And, you know, I mean, it's funny how the other parts of the stories are starting to intertwine. It's like, or not intertwine, but starting to come together. It's, you know, they're looking for the PA race. Kai Wen and Dukat, they're, you know, nice little happy couple now. And when Damar finally helps them escape, it's that point where you're just thinking, like you said, this is awesome. This is cool. I mean, the storytelling is so great. It makes you cheer for the antagonist that you did not like at the beginning of this whole series.
Yeah, it's really cool for sure. Yeah. Well, should we move on to the next episode?
Yeah, let's go on a changing face of evil. So, the plot line to this one is, after the Breen have attacked Earth, mixed emotions abound on Deep Space Nine. Kai Wen reveals her true feelings regarding the prophets to her spiritual guide, a Bajoran farmer named Anjol, who has surgically altered Dukat and turns her back on them, and convinced by him to embrace the Pa race. On the home world of Cardassia, Legate Damar mounts a resistance to the Dominion. And as you would say earlier, hijinks have ensued.
Yes, they have. Yeah. I mean, this is a pretty cool episode too. Obviously, you know, in addition to all the stuff going on with Kai Wen, and they're like trying to get this book to work, and you know they're having all this trouble with this book, and then like her, you know, servant guy is like, you know what? You're kind of crazy now. I don't think that this is good. And she's like, stab you in the back. And then, you know, that's like what activates the book. And it's like, you know, like an act of violence activates the evil. You know, I mean, you know, whatever. It works. But it's interesting, and it's really, really dark. And it kind of just shows how dark this character is, and how Kai Wen is just as evil as Dukat is in a lot of ways. And, you know, all that's cool, but then there's the whole thing where, you know, the Federation is losing their one region that they have sort of carved out in the Gamma Quadrant, and the Breen are, you know, taking it back and everything, and there's that whole big battle, and the Defiant is destroyed, you know, and it's like, what? No! You know, I mean, anytime that you know, one of the main ships is destroyed, it's like, oh, it's so, you know, and here, you know, that happens with Deep Space Nine, and it's kind of, you know, heartbreaking in this sense. So. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it starts off, you know, the episode starts off kind of like on a high note because Dax and Worf are back. And then all of a sudden you get the news, Earth has been attacked, and you see the pictures of Starfleet headquarters basically in ruin. You see the shuttles flying about, and Martok, which I thought was actually kind of cool, he says, my people never attempted that. And, you know, thinking about, well, yeah, the Klingons never did try to attack the home world of the Federation, did they? That's interesting.
Although apparently, I was reading in the 50-year mission book, you know?
Yeah.
Apparently the original idea for Star Trek Beyond was going to be Khan, you know, basically convincing the Klingons to attack Earth.
Ah, well.
Anyway, sorry.
That would have been interesting right there.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's funny, like you said. I mean, if you see how the episode progresses, like, when they're prepping the Defiant, they're talking. O'Brien and Bashir are talking about losing Travis, and you just hear them all. They're in dialogue, but they're also prepping the Defiant. It's like it's just an everyday routine for them and everything, and they're heading into the Chintaka system. Yes, the Chintaka system.
That's what it's called, yeah.
And the Defiant, it gets the first shot. It destroys the first Breen vessel, and you're thinking, "Oh, right, they're going to just take some name right now and just take it on." And the next thing you know, they go after the second Breen vessel, and they get that one shot of that dampening device that just disables the Defiant. And you notice then that the Defiant shut down, and Sisko's just sitting there with his hands in front of him, and it's just like, abandoned ship. There's nothing more we can do. And it's just it's a really heartfelt moment, because do you remember in First Contact, I think they were wanting to try to destroy the Defiant, and I think it was Irish and Bear said, "No, we're not destroying it." And well, look what happens.
Yep. Oh well, R.I.P. Defiant.
Yes. And one of the other cool things about it is, at the end, Sisko and Ross are actually talking, saying, "All right, what can we do? We don't have a lot of time." And then all of a sudden they hear the words from Damar saying, "We have attacked this area," and it was the cloning station of Wei Yun, which I thought that was, poetic justice for Wei Yun right there.
For sure, yeah. And then it's no longer, now Wei Yun is vulnerable, and if he dies again in this storyline, then it's going to mean something. There's like a threat to him, which is meaningful to us as viewers. So that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So what did you think about his speech, his final words at the very end?
I'm sorry, who's
of Damar's speech when he goes, resist today, resist tomorrow, resist till every Dominion soldier is off Cardassian soul.
Yeah, it's interesting, and now we've come so far that that the whole premise of this show is the Bajorans resisting the Cardassians, and now the show's going to end with the Cardassians, leading their own resistance against, an even bigger, badder, alien race of invaders, and it's kind of interesting to see the parallel there for sure. It's really cool.
Oh, absolutely. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about with this episode?
No, I think that pretty much wraps it up.
All right. Well, I think this wraps up my tenure for From There to Here. So it has been an absolute pleasure. Mike, thank you so much for helping me with that. Where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me right here on Trek FM doing Stage 9, and you can also find me on Twitter at Mumbles3K. How about you?
All right. You can find me on Twitter at Davis Grayson, and you can also find me in the Babel Conference. I'm in there from time to time, and you can also find me on the Phantom Podcast Network as one of the hosts of Couch Potato Theater.
Excellent. And thank you very much for stepping in and doing a number of these episodes of From There to Here. We really appreciate it and enjoyed your insight into these various episodes. And I will be back tomorrow with Brandon to talk about 2 episodes of Deep Space Nine, the next 2 parts in the final chapter, When It Rains and Tacking into the Wind.